In this book, the author, René Guénon, is speaking about the decline of humanisms, the human being, the cognitive ability to be able to assess their own world in a rational, comprehensive, intelligent way. And he speaks of the masses, this was 80 years ago, which have become automated, programmed, and the facility for free thinking, inquiry, investigation has atrophied within them. It has dissolved. And I'm like, wow. Had it really dissolved? Or was it never there? Because when I look back and I read people's work, they all say the same about their predecessors or their contemporaries at the time. They can't think. They're all programmed, they're all automaton. They're all filled with the biases. And so even 2,000 years ago, when we look towards the Greek philosophers, then they were looking around and they were saying the same. So I don't think that the cognitive ability has atrophied. I just think it was never there. And as I said yesterday in one of my videos in relation to the Anunnaki splicing some sort of hominid with their genetic endowment, I think that the creation of this so-called human being has within its DNA been programmed to be subservient, obedient, easily programmable, lacking the ability to critically think. And when certain people, the specialists in the realm of DNA analysis and things like that, they look at the DNA and they say, well, this DNA doesn't look right. It looks like there are bits in there that shouldn't be there. They call it DNA junk, don't they? Because it doesn't appear to serve any purpose. And other people say, well, look, evolution isn't that stupid. It's not just going to create a junkyard of your DNA. It's had billions of years to work this stuff out. And so the chances are it wasn't evolved, it was created. And we know now that DNA can be cut and spliced. And so it seems much more reasonable that that has what has happened. And so when I look at the human being, as far back as I'm privy to through other people's eyes, I see that the vast majority of the human being are non-critical thinkers. They are programmable matter. And what happens is that whoever gets to them first has the facility to program them. And this is why this so-called schooling system, which is an indoctrination system, a propaganda system, a system of deep hypnosis, programming, formatting, that's what these institutions are. That's why they want your kids in their creches and in their institutions at the earliest given opportunity. Because within the formative years, from 1 till 7, they format their minds. And once their minds have been formatted, they are incapable of thinking or even considering anything else. They just will not do it. They cannot do it. I was listening to a very popular podcaster, American guy. Unfortunately, I don't know his name. He says he's been banned from all other platforms by the left because he's always speaking about the left. And he's saying, look, we have tried and tried and tried to negotiate with these people, but it is in actual fact impossible. We cannot negotiate. They don't have the ability to negotiate. And we've all seen it, haven't we? And so he's saying it's time for Plan B. And Plan B is to, I think it was like to smash the voice, to smash the voice of the liberalists in a non-violent way. But it is just to keep obliterating what they are saying through reason, rational application, logic, sensibility and all that. Because the left sector of the world don't appear to be critical thinkers. They appear to be very emotional. And why are they emotional? Well, because they have been formatted with a certain variety of information. And when they go out into the world and they come upon the polar opposite or differing perspectives, they don't know what to do with that. They get all in a tizzy because as far as they were concerned, they were convinced that that's how the world was, because that's how they've been programmed through kindergarten, through schools, through colleges and through universities. And so their minds have been formatted by the machine. And they absolutely do not have the ability, even if they ever did, to critically think. Now, we can see this is very, very plain. Any of you that are thinking, intelligent people can see what's happened with universities pretty well all over the world. And when we compare what's happened there to religious sectors, then we see, well, it's exactly the same. It's hypnosis, it's propaganda, it's brainwashing. And we see the exact same obstinance and vitriol coming from religious sectors like Islam and Christianity on a deep level, when they have, been bound by certain cults, But the whole Islamic thing is a very, very powerful cult. And anyone born into that particular variety of world, that ideology, that culture, they have no chance whatsoever of escaping, because they've got them from the very, very earliest ages. However, we do hear stories of people, invariably women that no longer want to be suppressed and beaten and controlled by their husbands, and they don't want to be forced into arranged marriage with someone that they can't stand. And so then very, very few of them will abscond, and they will go to America or to Britain or whatever they consider a remotely safe house. But they will have a bounty on their heads, because it is within their law, this whole Sharia law thing, that anybody outside of that dogma must die, and they'll most certainly meet death for defecting and disrespecting Allah and the whole regime. And so these people live under a constant threat, because even their family members will kill them. And I've heard stories of the husband strangling the daughter because she didn't want to accept Islam. She wanted to leave. And so this is how powerful this dogma is. So when we look across the world, people, and we see that these religions are absolutely vile, they are such a perversion upon the human brain and consciousness that invariably they will never be able to escape that mentality. And also when we listen to people who are on the circuit today, speakers who were indoctrinated into the Catholic Church, because they were intelligent and strong, they've managed to extract themselves from that. But they all say that it's still there. It's still a format which can't be eradicated, and there's a lot of guilt pertaining to extricating themselves from that ideology. And they have to be strong, very mindful that, that's that Catholic guilt again, it's coming back. It will never leave. It never leaves them. And so this is the thing. And so we all know that that's what happens to religions. And so we have to also accept that that's what happens to humans in the Western world when they come under the jurisdiction of these propagandists intent on creating subservient, dull workers. And the question is, people, how many of you have been subject to that? So, for those of you who are subject to it, you doubtless wouldn't know. You couldn't make that realization. Only the ones who haven't been subject to it can say, I'm not subject to that bullshit. All my family is for some reason. I don't know why. The vast majority of the people I engage with at work and so-called friends and this, that and the other, they're so subject to this Trumpism or Bidenism or Islamism or, Christianism or whatever it is, these isms that they have been captivated by, and they cannot escape, and they do not have this rational application which will enable them to sit down emotion-free, bias-free, and just to assess information and think about it reasonably. Of course, for religious people to sit down, it's impossible for them to do that. And a religious debate is never ever worth listening to, because nothing ever comes out of it, does it? It's just the same old crap coming from these indoctrinated automaton. And when you look at the left and the right in politics, it's exactly the same. So we can see this primarily, most profoundly, in American politics. And there's pretty well equal 50-50. And they just cannot communicate, and they are at war with themselves. And so when people speak about a civil war brewing in America, well, there's already a civil war. They've been at war with each other for a long, long time, and they are killing each other, and they are cancelling each other, which is another variety of death, isn't it? If you cancel someone from all the major platforms and this, that and the other, then it's a form of war and it's a form of death. Now, during the COVID period, YouTube banned Trump from its platform. Subsequently, YouTube paid Trump $100 million because Trump took them to court. And Trump is taking everyone to court that banned them. And Trump won 14 million from CNN for some slander, and so the retribution can come about if you have power and money to do that. But for shit kickers such as ourselves, when they decide that we're banned, we're cancelled, we're killed, we're culled, well, there's nothing we can do about it. And so when I look at what I've been doing all these years, and I've always been asking, do any of you get it? Where are you? Where is your mindset? And there's only ever been a very, very narrow parameter of percentage which engage and have anything sensible to say. The vast majority of you don't have anything to say. Maybe because you are programmed in another way, maybe because you are still gathering data and you're not confident. You're a bit like Gifty. She's not confident of her own volition to come down from that couch, and you are not confident with your own volition to start espousing what you have come to know, because you don't feel confident that you know anything at this moment in time. And if you're young, then that's a fair enough position, rather than running your mouth when you haven't had the experience and you haven't gained the knowledge. There's nothing worse than someone running their mouth when they've got no substance. They just haven't had the inauguration. They haven't put the work in. And so you need to be either very bright or have been studying something for a long time. Now, a classic example in recent times was this guy called Charlie Kirk, and he was like a machine in relation to this. From a very young age, that's what his prowess was. It was looking at the diversity and engaging with people about the diversity. But what he discovered, he just couldn't penetrate and rationalise with the left, but he never stopped. What happened? Well, we all know what happened. And that's because the left just couldn't listen to it. They just couldn't reason with it. And of course, they called him, all the negative things that you can call a human being these days, which, just stem from the inability to be able to reason. It's like Trump. All of a sudden he's a fascist and he's a Nazi, and he's insane and all different sorts of things. Just preposterous, ridiculous things that they want to label, their opposition with, and it's very much. It's difficult to say. I can't say it's a Jewish thing, because it isn't entirely a Jewish thing. Not necessarily a Zionistic thing. Lots of people these days, they're speaking about Netanyahu. And they are saying, well, it's his camp that has got this propaganda. And they're using these ridiculous tactics. And of course, the whole anti-Semitism thing is getting a bit old these days, but they're still in their death throes, or death rolls, or whatever you want to call it, of utilising these tactics. But so many people are not buying it anymore. And particularly the left, all these students in university, coming out of university, they're not buying the whole we're the victim thing anymore, because they're looking at the reality and they go, well, actually everyone else is a victim of you guys, and you're still feeding off this 1940s thing, and it's a bit old now, to be fair, because we can't be brainwashed by it anymore. We see what you're doing. And so I wonder whether the left are actually seeing you know, the wood from the trees, or whether they have just been completely indoctrinated. And I think it's more probable that they have been completely indoctrinated. And that's a curious thing. So who have they been indoctrinated by? The socialists, the communists, the postmodernists? It's that sort of ilk. There was a day when people were speaking, this was probably about, you know, maybe 20 years ago, people were speaking about that it's all a Jewish conspiracy. And, you know, the Rothschilds have control over all of the learning institutions, all the schools, systems and the universities. And so there was a time when this anti-Semitism thing was so pervasive, and nobody would dare utter a word against this anti-Semitism thing, fear of being labelled with it. But now it seems the tables have turned, and nobody's interested or afraid of being labelled anti-Semitism, because it's been used so prolifically and in so many realms, which has been proven to not be a reality. And it just isn't working anymore. And so the world is moving on from this anti-Semitism thing. But now we see, you know, with the tables turning, that it isn't no longer the you-know-whos who have jurisdiction over the indoctrination institutions. No, it's the communists, the socialists, stroke evilists. It's not like they have this cohesive ideology that they have an agenda with. It's just that they want to use that to give the illusion that they want that. But they don't want that. They don't want everyone to have equal rights. They don't want everyone to have any rights at all. They just want to give the illusion of that, to get all the people following that, to help them, the masters, break down the whole of society. So if the whole liberalist fraternity, they break down the whole world, and they're always at loggerheads with conservatives and you know, Republicans and people like that, if they are in a constant battle to break that down, then they are working for the agenda, because the agenda is to break all power systems down except their own. And their own, once everybody else's power system has been broken down, is going to be made very, very apparent. And so that's the undertow of everything that's going on in the world politically. There are these invisible people which are pulling all these shots, and some of them not so invisible. You know, we've got the likes of Gates and Soros and, you know, Zuckerberg, and then all these people who have or been a part of the creation of AI. It's all about taking the autonomy away from the human being and bringing them into the hive mind, of course. So I've been speaking about this hive mind for, you know, a few weeks now, people, because it's so apparent, and it's coming from, you know, every direction. It's coming from the left as well as it's coming from the right, and it's coming from the in-betweeners, and it's coming from the pyramid at the very, very height. It's all over the world, and all these sectors are trying to get the hive mind under their jurisdiction. So the left wants their hive mind, the right wants their hive mind. The hierarchical system, you know, which are beginning to utilize AI, they want their hive mind. So you've got Bill Gates. He's on stage at the World Government meeting, and he's speaking to this super AI guru. And he's asking, can you please tell us what we are supposed to do as governments to come in line with the future of AI? And this super guru, I forget who he is a bigwig, and everyone knows his name. because he's kind of like one of the godfathers, and he's saying, well, you know, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and the push, of course, is digital ID, and then the push is going to be digital implants. That's what they're pushing for, and I'm saying that look, there's going to be a transition. It's absolutely inevitable. It's going to happen because everyone's pushing for it. And you know, Trump in his inauguration and you know his governance now is saying that we have to take power and utilize AI before China does. And then China's doing it hopefully before America, and everyone's doing it hopefully before everyone else, because everyone is terrified of one thing. What's that one thing that everyone's terrified of? The intention of the human being. It isn't AI per se that we're terrified of. It isn't the left. It isn't the right. It isn't the powers that be and all those, you know, invisible manipulators. It's the human being, because it's the human being with their sheer numbers which is so susceptible to brainwashing, and they are going to be doing it to themselves. And you can see as clear as day that the left are doing it to the right are doing it to the left, and then above those there's something else doing it to both of those, and then these here, the left and right, they're doing it down to all of us who don't give a fuck about any of it. They're just trying to, like a croupier, to gather in all the fucking chips into their bank. That's what's going on. And so I've been trying to see where you sit on this, and I can't get anything out of you, can I? And I'm wondering, why is it because you're too stupid? Is it because you're too naive? Is it because you're too young? Is it because you're too automated? What actually is it? Why is it that you don't have a voice? Why is it that you don't have an opinion? So let me just ask you one question at the end of this, for those of you that have got to the end here. Are you a free thinker? Do you categorically know that you are a free thinker? The litmus test is if you can look at everything across the board with equal standing, and you don't have any biases, you don't have any indoctrinations, you are not a Christian, you're not a Muslim, you're not a Republican, you're not a Democrat, you don't stand for any of these cults. They're all cults, people. You don't stand for any of those. You stand alone. That's what a true thinker does. It stands alone. A philosopher stands alone, and philosophers read all other philosophers, and they look at the world, and then without any biases and without any preconceived conviction, they're assessing the data and they're working it out using logic and reason. And so if you think you're one of those, then why don't you mention it in the comments? Because I think there's very, very few of us, to be quite frank with you people. Very, very few. And if you do think you are one of these people, then can you substantiate that? Can you give some sort of a bit of a backup towards it? Maybe you can state something like, I've never been supporting of a religion or a political party. They're all fucking idiots, to be quite frank. They're all indoctrinated and, you know, all the rest of it. You are outside of all that, and you're your own man or your own woman, and you do your own thing. And so people ask me, well, what's the answer? You know, you're making fun of us all, but, you know, do you have any answers? Well, I've been giving you answers for many, many years, and they've always been falling on deaf ears. And so I got tired of giving you answers, and now I just poke fun at you. I just attempt to rile you. I'm 1000% intent just to piss you off, because all the rest of this other stuff that I've been doing, showing you things about the world and about yourselves, and reading very important literature to you, and all the rest of it, I've done a billion things over this past 17 years, and to be quite frank, people, I grew very, very weary of it, because it's amounted to nothing. And it didn't matter what I said in any realm. I could have the most vitriolic rants, and then I could, you know, say something very empowering and beautiful, and the response would be the same. Almost zero. In actual fact, the response would be better for a rant, because at least I would be poking someone's anger or negative facet of whatever they feel, and so then, oh, a little bit of response, oh yeah, you know, to get involved on that, jump on the bandwagon. Hello, sweetheart. My little girl, she ready for some more milk? I think she is. She looks very lively now. Completely different to how she was yesterday afternoon and night. So, people, yes, where are you? Where the fuck are you? If you don't know where the fuck you are now, you are fucked. And so when someone says to me, well, what's the answer? The answer is the acquisition of knowledge. The answer is to open up all of your senses and look and feel and intuit what's going on in the world. And then that's going to be your greatest asset. Your knowledge, your experience, your rational application, your ability to be able to see the wood from the trees. If you don't have that very, very rare ability, you're fucked. If you can't assess all this information and make head or tail of it, you are fucked. If you can't see between all the fucking lies and the machinations, you're fucked. If you don't know what's been going on this planet for thousands of years, you're fucked. And so there's no point in you asking me, and there's no point in me telling you. You have to know what you're going to do, which is premised on your experience, your knowledge, and your perception of this dimension. And when you've got that, you'll know what to do. And I'm always saying, I'm sitting here in no man's land. I am not in allegiance with the lower echelon of society. I'm not in allegiance with the higher. I think vastly more like the higher, because they're intelligent than you guys. I don't think like you, or rather you don't think like me. We're chalk and cheese, you know, unless you state otherwise. And because you haven't stated otherwise, very, very few of you, then I have to draw the logical conclusion that I'm speaking to the deaf, dumb and blind at the end of the day, aren't I? And so, well, what should we do, Aaron? You should wake the fuck up. But if it isn't within you to wake the fuck up, if the cosmos doesn't have that design for you, then you won't. And if you don't know what to do, too bad. Because really it's too late. You should have known what to do a long, long time ago. You should have seen it coming a long, long time ago. If you've just woken up now to this shitfest and you're asking what to do, forget it. You know, and so you could say, well, what should we do then? Well, just continue in your ignorance. Just don't watch this stuff anymore, because it's not good for your health. Just go and do whatever you enjoy doing. Just try to be happy, and don't look at this shitfest that's going on, because unless you are really fucking tuned in, it's just going to terrorise you. It's just going to bring you down. It's just going to make you anxious and insecure, and just feeling like shit, basically. It's not touching me. It doesn't touch me. It doesn't even touch me. Not in the slightest. I just feel like I'm the invisible man. I'm just so outside of it. I'm just so above it. And, you know, this sort of thing. It's like, if you want to get really into Jesus, or if you want to get into Allah, and if you want to, you know, fear the devil and all that, I'm like, for me, it's just a choice. I could do all those things if I wanted to. but I'm not compelled to do any of those things. I'm not under the yoke of any jurisdiction or propaganda. I've not been programmed. You know, I don't know, you know, lots of reasons why I wasn't programmed, but I'm just not. And I just look at all those on equal footing, and I go, well, there's something to be said for religion and, you know, evil, because we've got these polar opposites within this dimension. Sure, there's everything. But, you know, just to settle on one is very naive, it's very silly, and it's probably premised in fear, to be honest. And so don't settle on any. Just look at them all and just assess the world on a constant basis, and just like a sidewinder, weave your way through it. That's the only advice I can offer people. Feeding time for my little friend.